for the skeptics in the audience, I just want to first show them this. So this is a list of all of the coincidences that I've compiled with regards to the mountain. And
can I say something before you get to those? Let's just level set, because I want people to understand what you're suggesting. And people are probably going to think I'm nuts for having you on, because what you're suggesting is that formation, that mountainous formation,
that's what I'm suggesting,
may be a biological entity of giant proportions that was
Titanic
fossilized?
Proportions.
Of Titanic proportions. So, yeah, better said.
So, you know, if you're thinking of you know, the Bible, there's an extra biblical text known as the Book of Enoch that describes the Titans, and there was a great war, and it actually gives measurements for the Titans as well. And I think it's 300 or 3,000 ells, and that equates to roughly a mile in altitude. You know, this mountain is roughly 2,500 feet tall, and it's about 3.5 miles long. And so this is an example of.
Now, of course, the tusks are photoshopped in, yeah.
But it has to be, right?
Right, just to give the suggestion of what might have been. Okay, now let's get back to those coincidences, though, because for those who are still with us, your coincidences in your scientific approach to the research is eye-opening.
Yeah, so I you know, when I first got on this topic, it came after first seeing a few videos that were just really undermining some of the cornerstones of geology and what we know about dating and the age of things and how things are formed. I mean, you know, stuff like this, the no trees on Earth, you know, the idea that maybe these plateaus were actually once giant tree stumps. Now, there's some people who say that these aren't tree stumps at all. You know, if you think of Devil's Tower, there's some who are theorizing that this is a giant tendon. I have a hard time buying that one myself, but you know, the idea that a lot of these structures are actually tendons. But there's a lot of examples in the fossil record that don't really match what we know about you know, what they say. I mean, when you look at the age of things, this is, you know, what they tell us, and they're talking in timelines of hundreds of millions of years, and you know, they use these layers of strata to justify their timelines. But then you've got things like this, where you've got tree trunks that are extending through multiple layers of strata. So I'm sure they've got some clever explanation for how that is, but it's just one of those things that makes you go, you know, and those geological timelines are also their justification for the Big Bang and
the all-time lie, the Big Bang. See, and my point here about spirituality, as you just carry this with you beyond this conversation and give it some thought, they tell us that we are the result of a Big Bang, right? They can't prove the Big Bang. So to me, believing in the Big Bang is as big a leap of faith as believing in the book of Genesis, which says God spoke it into being. So take for that what you will, and we'll get back to these coincidences.
That's the second half of the coincidence list. I showed the first half already. So in the 2 years that I've been at this now, I've compiled over 50 different specific anatomical correlations between, I'm not attached to the idea that it's an elephant. I mean, it could be some other creature that, you know, but I am pretty confident that it's a vertebrate, you know, and the eye alone has close to 20 different specific correlations, and those are listed here.
And you've explored it, just so people understand. You've been in it. You've explored it, correct?
All right. Yeah, and I've documented every one of the things on those lists that I've shown. I've documented with photographic and video evidence, and I've gone in, you know, with video cameras and been deep inside the cave of the eye. And then there are actual channels that go even further back that correspond to other parts of the anatomy. So I just want to let people know I'm well aware of the concept of pareidolia and, you know, seeing things that aren't actually there, or recognizing patterns that don't exist. And I don't believe that's what's happening, and that's why I've tried to approach it as scientifically as I could. And in fact, when I started to get onto this idea, and I thought, this is just utterly crazy, you know, I didn't want to look like a fool and start making claims. And so I decided I was going to revisit the eye, which I had hiked to on many occasions, and go up there and document what I was finding. But first I wanted to look through all of the anatomy books and look at 3D anatomy and just, you know, have a list of things that I was expecting to find when I went up there, rather than going up and finding a bunch of things and just trying to fit them into my crazy theory. And so when I did that, the second video I did on the Unveiling a Titan series is entirely about the eye. Somebody just today introduced me to a new term that I had never heard of before. It's called apophenia, and that's the tendency to mistakenly perceive connections and meaning between unrelated things. So they were claiming that that's what I was doing with the heart stones, and other people have made many claims that I'm suffering from pareidolia.
Well, Stellium, if it makes you feel any better, that's the same exact thing the Mockingbird mainstream media says about those that believe in quote-unquote conspiracy theories, especially conspiracy theories surrounding the events of 9/11. We're told that we extrapolate things that don't exist and make connections that don't exist and concoct these conspiracy theories because they say it makes us feel better about random, horrible events. It makes us feel better to think that they're the result of deep-rooted conspiracies, as opposed to what we're told, which is just sometimes bad people do bad things. And, you know, 18 or 19 guys with box cutters took 3 planes and defeated the Pentagon's surveillance systems and NORAD's security surveillance systems, and World Trade Center 7 came down at free fall speed.
Now there's some
because of those 19 guys,
huh?
But yeah, and that, my point here is that the Mockingbird mainstream media maligns anyone who thinks outside of the official narratives that are shoved down our throats.